you're in the gray. Hey guys, this is Suzanne. You're in the gray, meaning that you're not black and white. You're not on one spectrum of the other spectrum. You're still undiagnosed in the gray. Today I'm going to be talking about MOLST. Now, it could be varied in different states. Thank God my foster mom works for the ambulance corps. When I was telling her that I have a DNR, but it didn't really fit my needs because I don't really want to be like non-resuscitated. I just don't want to be necessarily on life support so long. So she was like, have you heard of MOLST? I'm like, I've never heard of MOLST. And she's like, well, most people that are not really sick, don't hear about MOLST. And I'm like, enlighten me. So, MOLST, which is MOLST, it stands for Medical Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. Now, on the website, it says that it should be printed on, like, pink paper. I asked Barb, is that really necessary? And she was like, if you have this and it's signed by your PCP, it's a legal document that you have, binding document from you to your practitioner, and will be copied in and saved to your hospital file, and you'll be good. Doesn't need to be pink. I'm like, okay. She's like, the reason why it's pink is so it's highly recognizable with your other documents. And let me tell you, I've seen my fucking folder of medical documents. It's big. So I get that. And granted, my printer, I don't think it was going to be able to handle that pink paper. So the first sheet is, it asks you if you do want to have a DNR or other life-sustaining treatment. These forms are actually pretty easy. My DNR form was kind of like difficult to fill out, but it's really like, Section A, resuscitation instructions when the patient has no pulse or is not breathing. And it gives you like which one you want to check. And then Section B is consent for resuscitation instructions. Section C is the physical signature for Sections A and B. And then advanced directives, which is a health proxy, living will, organ donation, documentation, oral advancement directive. Section E is orders of other life-sustaining treatment and future hospitalization when the patient has a pulse and the patient is breathing, which for me, this is something I would really want to, check off and what have you. And then Section F is the review and renewal of most orders, which I really like because sometimes a DNR is like, once you have it, like, it doesn't really have, well, the one that I filled out at least, I could be really wrong. But like, I would have to like redo the whole thing and to update it. With MOLST, it tells you like, was there a change? Like, what did change? No new change, and like, they give you they give you 2 sheets worth. Which I really like that it has that, not just like being like, throughout your I refer as journey. It really sucks. Your time through this with the new symptoms, what have you. And what sparked this is like about a year ago when I did go blind, and they had no idea. I mean, they have a slight idea now, but before they had no idea. And I actually had someone once a week call me to make sure I wasn't decomposing, as my doctor directed that I should need to do that. That's really scary to hear, and also like kind of life-threatening to the patient, and something very heavy to talk about. And that's when I probably should have went to therapy, but I waited 8 months after that, because I'm stubborn in that aspect. So then I had a DNR because I was like, man, if I'm that, and that's a personal choice. And definitely, like, for one good thing is, like, I'm happy that Barb and I had that talk about, like, well, what about MOLST? Like, what about that? And I was like, what is that? I like that kind of communication that we had. If you're in, when you're not the primary patient, you're the secondary support network, and you're like, maybe I should bring that up. It wouldn't be offensive. It's a nice dialogue to have. So now that I've moved out of that, I don't have once a week someone call on me, and I guess I became more stable. So now that's why I'm looking at MOLST. I'm going to fill that baby out today. I've been avoiding it. It's been on my coffee table for a couple months now, at least about a month and a half, because it is something very serious to fill out. At age 25, and as much as I'm all about ageism, I never anticipated that this time in my life I would be filing out MOLST and updating my will and updating my health proxy forms, and I had never, and who can predict this kind of stuff, unless like you've had like a whole track record of it. Also what I was going to talk about are books. So there are very few books about this stuff, which makes me want to kind of like write. But then, so there's this from Lori Edwards, Life Disrupted. It's about getting real about chronic illness in your 20s and 30s. And it's not just about her personal stories. She talks about other people that she interviewed, about their struggles and what have you. The other book, which this book is pretty good, the one I was just talking about. But the one problem that I have is that she's married and she has a strong support network. So there are some things that I can resonate. Like, I love that she talks about the frustrations with the medical community not taking her serious and kind of like thinking that she's crazy, which I've been there. But I get a little like, I'm not married, I'm single, and I go to my doctor's appointments alone, and like I don't really have a strong support network. So, yeah. So then I got another book, Linda Hanner, John Whitdeck, and Robert Clift. When you're sick and you don't know why, coping with your undiagnosed illness. Love this book. Highly recommend it. Also, me being a psychology major, and hopefully getting my master's in counseling, this book I highly recommend. How they write it. The one doctor, I think the Linda woman, actually has had an undiagnosed illness, and they really talk about identity and, you know, I've underlined a lot of stuff. And one thing that I've really learned is that with an ongoing undiagnosed health problem, it will be helpful to develop perseverance, to learn to believe in yourself, hang on whatever faith you have, and to learn to forgive, and most of all, do not give up on hope. Love this book. And that was right out of the book. The other book I got, I don't know why I have a magazine in my, I don't know. Okay, the other book I got is Living with an Invisible Chronic Illness, Sick and Tired of Feeling Sick and Tired of Feeling Sick and Tired of Feeling Sick and Tired. Paul Donahue and Mary E. Siegel, which I've heard of Mary with some medical journals. This is pretty good. I also highly recommend it. I just started kind of going into it. But they talk about a lot of illnesses that are invisible and how you identify, because you can blend with the healthy people in society. You're not in a wheelchair yet, or you're not blind yet, and like so you can kind of pass. And how that really affects you, which it does. Honestly, there are times where I wish I was in a wheelchair. I hate saying that, but like, because like, I would be like supported and people would be like, okay, you are sick. It's like, it's so hard to be like, I tremor really hard. Like sometimes I can't get my foot to stop and I'm sitting there and it's not doing it. Like it's so hard. They think you're crazy. Highly recommend those books. MOLST. Get your legal documentation. That is like hands down. Like you do not want to be what I was going through, and on top of that, making sure everything was updated, because it's very stressful, and you're gonna get depressed, and you're not gonna finish it, and God forbid something does happen, and you're in a very jeopardizing position, and your forms, and you don't have a health proxy, you don't have someone to speak on the behalf of you. It's very scary, and I highly recommend to get all your shit done. You are the patient. It's your health. It's your life, you gotta live it. You unfortunately have to advocate for yourself and make sure that yourself is in check legally and definitely legally on this and healthcare wise. And anytime that you are confused, ask your doctor. That's where they're supposed to be. Or just look up that stuff on good old Google. I was gonna say WebMD, but sometimes that's like, So Anyways, you're in the gray. It's undiagnosed. It sucks. It's a long ass journey. And you just hang in there. You have hope, and you try to live life comfortably as you can. And you hang in there, kiddo. All right. Click the like button and check out the links below. And I'm definitely gonna talk about this on my Tumblr. All right. Thanks.